Shalom. We are in Unleavened bread and we are counting the Omer. I just want to make a little correction on yesterday's post. On the slide I think it was Nissan 17 copied over all the days. It's actually 17 till 21, and little typo there. Someone pointed out to me, so thank you for that. The same person then made a comment on the number 7 and how the 3 pilgrim festivals connect to the number 7, which is a very good insight, because number 7, as you know, is about the processes that we engage in the physical realm. Everything below 7 is in the physical, everything above 8 is in the spiritual, and 8 relates to new beginnings. So number 7 is the highest number, or the number that's associated with the highest level that we can achieve in this life. And that's why number 7 is seen as a holy number. A lot of people, have 777 on their number plates and all that because they value that number if they are religious or specifically Christian, or have a conception of the Messiah and the God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. So number 7 is very important to them, and that is built into us. I think we all have that inkling towards number 7. So the number 7 connects to Passover, and then the 7-day feast of unleavened bread, which is actually the main event, which extends over 7 days, where you deliberately eat bread with no leaven. So it's not avoiding yeast, it's about eating leaven. So every time you see your food and you eat and there's unleavened bread there, it's a reminder, it's a visual reminder through the act of eating. And we've got in our culture a habit of eating 3 times a day, and if we at least have 1 meal per day deliberately eating unleavened bread, that's a reminder to us that this is a sanctification process. Remember in Exodus 6 when we looked at the 4 cups, one of them is to sanctify you. Now, sanctification is about cleansing, it's about purification, it's about making us new, restoring us, and that's where the number 7 comes into as well. 7-day cycle with the Torah cycle, the 7 Moedim, which is the cycle of the work of Mashiach, and now we have within the 7-day Moedim the 7-day feast of unleavened bread, which is a purification with the focus on sin, getting rid of sin out of my life. Now every day this week we should deliberately think about, what sin do I have in my life? What things in my life is not aligned with Yahweh's Torah, Yahweh's word, specifically regarding holiness? Because the outcome of number 7 is basically the elevation of holiness. And as we engage with number 7, we receive truth. And truth is the building block of righteousness. And righteousness definition is to know what is right and to do what is right. That is based on truth. And the only source of truth, as we know, is found within the Torah. And that truth is embedded with a lot of wisdom, where you can actually glean the wisdom from the text and apply it to your daily life in a different culture, in a different time frame, in a different situation. That's not necessarily agricultural related, which most of the commandments are, or it's related to the priesthood and services within the tabernacle. But as we studied the tabernacle, we know there's a spiritual layer that applies to all of us, because we are the priesthood. So everything that engaged with number 7, even the consecration of the priesthood, that was for 7 days, and they ate unleavened bread. And this is basically our consecration of the priesthood as we enter into this new cycle this year, because we had the new year on the 3rd of April, which was Nissan 1, And that new cycle started then. And then we have this celebration where the first and most important thing is to do introspection. Look at yourself. Look at what sin is. Hold up the mirror of the Torah and see if there's any spots and things on your clothing, which are your actions, or in your face, which is basically your thoughts and your ideas. So we need to do that introspection every day of the week this week, so we can get into the right mindset of approaching the rest of the Moedim. And then we head up to the next cycle of 7, which is Shabbat. Why is Shabbat linked to number 7? Because it's 7 times 7, which is 49, and day 50 is the first day that associate with Shabbat. In last year's study, you'll note that I've got a different take on Shabbat, and I see Shabbat as a time frame with different themes and different counts. So the first one is 49 and then 50, and then you add another 50 days to that, which bring you to, I think, 99. But I've got a whole study last year. I'll probably touch on that this year as well, which bring you up to basically the next feast that's associated with 7, which is Sukkot, which starts with trumpets. Now, as I mentioned earlier, trumpets and Sukkot is a mirror image in the fall cycle, similar to the spring cycle, which is the first of Nisan and unleavened bread. The 10th day, the lamb was taken into the house. The 10th day of Tishri, it's a day of atonement. And the fourth, then there's a 7-day cycle of unleavened bread after the sacrifice, and then there's Sukkot after the day of atonement's sacrifice as well, which has to do with the 2 goats. And that's how the 2 goats associated with the lamb, and all 3 of them relates to the work of Messiah if you overlay them with one another. So there we have the 2 cycles of 7 in the front, Spring Festival, at the back, Fall Festival, and right in the middle we have 7 times 7, which is Shavahat. That is all about receiving the Torah, receiving the commandments, receiving the words of Yahweh, receiving the first set of tablets and receiving the second set of tablets. And each one of those events has to do with a theme of Shabbat. And ultimately the prophetic picture of Shabbat is Pentecost, the receiving of the Spirit, where the Spirit and the Torah is one. And the Spirit revealed the truth of the Torah to us. And that's why it's 7 times 7, the double purification process of the Word and the Spirit. And that is the ultimate cleansing where we need to get to. And if you put the 7 festivals on the menorah pattern, Shabbat is on the middle branch, which make it the most important one. And that's what sanctification, purification is all about, through the cycles of 7, starting, finishing, and then the pinnacle of it all, 7 times 7. And when we look at history, the prophetic bigger timeline of the 7 millennia, we know the 7th millennium is also this 1,000-year peace. That's the pinnacle of number 7, and then number 8 starts basically day 1 again, which is a new beginning. And if you use that as a mirror image, you have from 1 to 7. 7 is the peak and pinnacle, and then you count down again, which give you a mirror image. But the one cycle flow into the next cycle, and it's all cycles of 7 in a larger prophetic picture. So everything has to do with 7, everything has to do with elevation, purification, restoration of humanity, as well as Yahweh's creation. And then the next cycle, after things are purified, you will see the reinstatement of the city of Jerusalem, the house of Yahweh, being connected back to the earth, the restored garden, which we looked at yesterday, the walled garden, the new garden that's a blessing, that has value. And that's what the Omer is all about with the iron, and then the Omer with the Aleph is about the Torah, and that is our roadmap to get to that endpoint, which is the garden and the city. And the Torah, as we discussed just now, It's all about number 7, and all about holiness and purification. So thanks for those comments. It stimulates my thoughts, and it reveals a lot of truth if we look back on the patterns and the numbers and what it means in relation to one another, connecting to other themes and festivals. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you soon. Shalom.